Yo, what's up guys, and welcome to this new Master Sword Speedrun Explained video. So as you may have seen on my channel, there's a new glitch on how to get the Master Sword with 3 hearts using a campfire. The video gained quite a bit of traction. The glitch was discovered by a user named BotW, and it's very exciting. A lot of the people in the YouTube comments were asking, how does this affect the speedrun? Is the speedrun broken now? And while it isn't completely broken, it's definitely a lot faster. And throughout this last week, I was actually doing quite a few attempts of this speedrun on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/limcube. If you want to follow me there, I would really appreciate it. I almost stream every day, and you can find more commentated speedruns there, or just some speedruns, and we hang out there, talk about the game, maybe about the sequel, whatever you like. But yeah. That is enough with the ads. Let's talk about how the new Master Sword speedrun works. So just like every other speedrun, we are going to start on the Great Plateau, and in fact, the Great Plateau in this speedrun is actually like 85% of the whole run, because the run is so short. So you can see, if you look at my timer here, my current personal best I'm running against is a 22-minute time. I won't quite give away what the final time is I'm going to get in the speedrun, but we'll obviously get there at the end. So, the first improvement to the new Master Sword speedrun actually happens pretty much right away. So in the past, if you wanted to get the Master Sword in a speedrun, you had to do a glitch called Korok storage. And what that was, you went to the Master Sword, you spawned Epona there with your amiibo, saved on Epona, then basically loaded back to the Great Plateau, jumped in a Korok ring, these kind of like leaf rings that are on water sometimes, pause on a perfect frame, then load back on the save file of the horse, and then warp to the Great Plateau to unload the Master Sword actor and the cutscene, so you can just pick it up like a normal weapon. But in this run now, we don't have to do any warps anymore. So back then, we had to watch the first cutscene of the game, the opening cutscene where you can see the logo, because that cutscene is what actually makes it so that you can warp back to the Shrine of Resurrection. But since we don't have to warp anymore at all, we can basically just do any percent movement here and clip through the ceiling normally and make our way to the potlet, just like most any percent runs would do. I do have to mention though that obviously there's a slightly faster route using the Boko shield. So you basically, instead of going here, you go to the right, and on your way you can actually pick up a piece of wood, which we'll need for the campfire later. But then you have to use the Boko shield, which has horrible durability, only durability of 4 or 5, I think. So nobody really does it at the moment. I wouldn't really recommend it unless you want to go for world records. So we are playing it safe here. We're getting the potlet, and I also picked up 6 chilies, which is a nice advantage. 6 chilies as backup food will help us eating if we take a little bit too much damage from a wind bomb or something. It just makes the run safer. But at this point, Zelda is going to interrupt us. Also worth to mention that this run is being played in French, since there's only really the opening cutscene when you get the Sheikah Slate, so it's just like any percent French will be the fastest language for this run. I pick up the axe, and then I basically make my way up this hill, doing the normal shield jumps. This is basically gonna be any percent for quite a little bit, up until the point where we get to the Cryonis split. There's some new strats there. Also briefly mentioning that I will actually update my any percent tutorial a little bit with some new strats. So if you guys want to learn the speedrun, if you want to get some more information, make sure to subscribe to the channel as well. That should be coming out within the next like 1 or 2 weeks. But just like normal, we get the Bokoblin bow here by hitting the Bokoblin twice, then jumping, so we cancel the X-Swing, and then picking up the bow mid-air. Very clean climb here, up the hill, and I'm gonna make my way towards the Stasis Shrine. I'm assuming at this point that you may have seen a Breath of the Wild speedrun before, but just like in the any percent speedrun, we are going to have to clip through the shrine wall. We will never get the Great Plateau Tower, which means we can never officially enter the shrine, though the elevator of the shrine is loaded, so we use the skew clip mechanic to clip through the wall and then enter the shrine. What I like about this run though is that it's pretty much a practice run for the Great Plateau with a little bit of extra content. So if you are a speedrunner yourself, if you tried speedrunning before, this can actually be a refreshing warm-up exercise. You go through all of the early game shrines, and then you practice some BTBs, some movement. I think, actually, optimally, and I can talk about this once we're done with stasis as well, this run could maybe be completed in under 16 minutes, like in literally 15 minutes, if everything goes perfectly, and also using Amiibo. So one thing that's important for this run is we need a campfire, right? So we need wood and a way to light the campfire. And we also need ice arrows for one of the bullet time bounces that we're gonna do. In a no amiibo run, what we do on our way to Magnesis, we'll land there, grab fire and ice arrows, but that means we're missing out on the chance of getting an unloaded Magnesis shrine, where we can just walk through the door where the shrine isn't really properly loaded. So if we use the amiibo rune, and we scan the Daruk amiibo, there's actually a 90% chance that the Daruk amiibo spawns a flint. A flint is one of the easiest ways to make a campfire. You just drop the piece of wood and the flint together and then hit it with your axe and you have a campfire. The only issue that remains then is the ice arrows. And the ice arrows actually only have an 8% chance to drop from an amiibo. So scanning an amiibo like Ocarina of Time or Mifa always has a 8% chance that the chest contains ice arrows. That chance is incredibly low, but if you happen to get them first try, you could skip the fire and ice arrows on your way to Magnesis, saving quite a lot of time. I want to say maybe like 20 to 30 seconds, so once the record gets optimized in this category, we may see people go for that. But for now we won't. And we are done with stasis now, which means the old man is going to show up, since this is the first shrine that we completed. Gonna guide us through the Great Plateau, and we'll obviously completely ignore him like usual. And then make our way to Cryonis. So, for example, comparing to my any percent tutorial from like 2019, Cryonis is a little bit more optimized nowadays. There's faster strats that we use. They're not necessarily different, they're just more optimized. And I can show you what they look like looking at this run. So the first one is something we call just a 4-hit boulder strat. We used to hit this boulder in the back there only 3 times, but hitting the boulder 4 times and adjusting our aim actually makes for a little bit of a better angle. See, I'm going to stasis the boulder, and you can see I'm hitting it 4 times, shooting the arrow a little bit more to the left than usual. And this time I actually won't jump off the boulder, but instead ride it all the way up to the left here and then backflip off. So this way we're already up here and can shield surf straight to the BTB spot. Also, this is a very, very recent BTB improvement. We are shooting the arrow a little bit lower and then doing a little bit of extra steps like this backflip here to get a more convenient angle towards the Cryonis shrine. With the normal Cryonis BTB, you tend to land quite far to the right, and there's a pretty big chance that you can even land in the water. But with this new adaptation, it is actually quite a bit easier to land much closer to the shrine like this. You can even land like closer if the Bokoblin turns a little bit. And then also we get the skew here on front of the shrine and go for the extended shield clip. That was a pretty clean one, got it first try. It's something that I have covered in a video tutorial in the past. Now in Cryonis, if you watch the very best runs of Plateau, there is a strat called wall jump, where basically after you get the rune here, you wall jump on the left using some very, very strange inputs that also require a claw grip of the controller to jump and then shield jump over the gate on the left, and then you can still do that Cryonis hop. And it saves around 3 to 4 seconds, but it honestly really hurts my hands to do. And I want to say maybe like 10 people in the community that I know really go for that strat. And most of them are any percent specialists, like people that really focus on the any percent category, the shortest runs, while I personally focus on longer runs that sometimes go up to like 4 to 6 hours, where 3 to 4 seconds really don't matter that much, specifically if it hurts my hands. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to raise up the Cryonis block, and then raise up the Cryonis block under the gate, and then go for the good old trusted cryo hop here. It's actually an ancient strat. I think that strat was found like in the release month or something by a runner called Shaden or Nida S. That's the reverse method. Some people have heard of that name by watching, I think it's actually on the lowest percent channel or on Smallend's channel. I think it may be on Smallend's channel, the world record history of Mario Odyssey, and that mysterious runner, Shaden, who then disappeared. But yeah, he's incredibly talented when it comes to finding skips and playing games fast. I don't know what he's doing right now. I don't know if he's ever going to be back, but in the beginning of Breath of the Wild, he did find that jump, and we use it to this day. But now we gotta go to Magnesis, and this is where the route will vary a little bit from an any percent speedrun. Shooting an arrow there, and then aiming at my normal visual cue. I will try to get a pretty far BTB, but not too far. I don't want to go all the way to the shrine, as much as that's nice in any percent, because like I said, I'm not going to use Amiibo, and I need a way to light the campfire, and I need to ice arrows to make it to the Master Sword later, because one of the BTBs is going to require me to do that. I'm going to hop over here. Those chests will usually not be loaded, so I had to actually do some menuing for them to be loaded in. And then, since we already have the Cryonis rune, we can actually use Cryonis in the box here. So for some reason you can also make a Cryonis block in the box. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. And then a double shield jump makes it so that we can go on the other side of the box, so we don't have to run around. Additionally, here is a tree, and that tree is basically right in our line to go to the Magnesis shrine, so I quickly cut down the tree to get our piece of wood. Like I said, since we need a campfire now to get the Master Sword with the newest glitch, wood is going to be required. Now, lining up here, I'm going to clip into the Magnesis shrine, which is still, to this day, pretty much the most boring shrine there is to do. So there's not too much to say about that. But we can already figure out what we're going to do on our way to the bomb shrine, because that's actually worth talking about. Right now, there is basically 3 ways of going to the bomb shrine once we're done here. One is the original strat that I covered in my tutorial, where you basically use a metal slab, you use stasis, and then you go over to the bokoblins and BTB to the shrine. Another one is something called box walk, where you would just use the metal crate next to the shrine, use stasis on it immediately, and then walk on the box to go over the river and go to the bokoblins that way. That saves around 3 to 4 seconds again. It's fairly inconsistent. I'm probably gonna cover it in my tutorial update though, so that's something you can look forward to. And then the last way is the stasis bounce. Also something that I talked about in my tutorial. That strat would save another 7 seconds over the box walk, but it's still to this day very inconsistent, and no speedrunner actually goes for it really consistently in their attempts. I hope that in the future we'll be able to find a consistent setup for it, since that would be not only very stylish, but also quite a bit faster. But yeah, I just wanted to get this out of the way, because Magnesis is kind of boring. Just gotta dodge this Guardian so we don't get shot, and open the door. Don't know if I get hit here. No, sometimes the Guardian likes hitting Link in the back. And that is already Shrine 3 out of 4 completed. So basically, once again, the outline of this run is just make it through plateau as quick as possible while collecting everything we need to do the Master Sword glitch, like the wood and the fire arrows, and then also the ice arrows to get there. And then we'll be on our way as fast as possible. We don't need to warp anymore, we don't need Epona anymore, we don't need apparatus storage anymore. This run is insanely fast now. But Magnesis is done now, and in this run I am gonna decide to go for the standard version of the trick. I'm personally not a super big fan of the box walk, where you stasis the box that we just saw on screen. You will see it again here, that box basically on the left there. So I just go for this one. This is super consistent, and it still looks cooler in my opinion. It's kind of like Link surfing. You can even backflip off the slab. What I do at the end here looks even more stylish. And we go up the tower and go for another bullet time bounce. This one can be tricky. Sometimes the bokoblins don't walk up to you and they don't really cooperate with you, but I end up getting it just fine here. And so far this plateau was actually pretty good. The stasis split, probably not the very best. Cryonis, very clean. Magnesis, considering that I got fire and ice arrows, also very clean. So at this point, I knew that this run had probably some good potential to become my new personal best for the run. So then Bombs comes up, and this still is, in my opinion, one of the most annoying clips. Sometimes this happens, and this is probably my biggest time loss in the Great Plateau here. It ends up being my biggest time loss at least. The skew can be a little bit too strong, and then Link just doesn't clip in. I probably ended up losing like 10 to 15 seconds here, which is unfortunate because, like I said, Plateau until then was very strong, considering that I had gotten wood, fire arrows, and ice arrows. But it's fine. I knew the run was still in a good spot, so I didn't decide to reset or anything. I was still ahead, and I was probably gonna be ahead by a lot more, because if you look at my timer, under the big number, the 13, you can actually see that I had 1 minute of time save, comparing my personal best segment for this split to my best, so what my potential was, and I think I ended up even improving my best here. So this is actually a recent adaptation. When you clip into a shrine, or in general, when you unequip your shield while you are shield jumping, you get in something called ragdoll state, or glitched ragdoll. which makes it so that the next time you do a wind bomb, a tree launch, anything, you will not get your momentum. You will like stop in the air and then fall down. And in the past, what we've done a lot is basically we just do a shield jump neutrally and then unequip our shield before the wind bomb. But what I did here before this wind bomb that skips the entire bomb shrine is I literally just landed on my shield and unequipped it so Link flopped over, getting him out of that glitch ragdoll state. This might actually be something that I will be recommending in my any percent tutorial because it has a 100% chance of working. While that quick ragdoll reset is kind of suspicious, like sometimes it just doesn't work, and I would rather lose like 2 seconds and guarantee the wind bomb than saving those 2 seconds and maybe fail the wind bomb, which will end up being like a 10-second time loss. So that's some nerd talk out of the way. Once again, tutorial update on the way. But that's Bomb Shrine, the last shrine on the Great Plateau, and looking pretty good. 14 minutes and 10 seconds. If I hadn't messed up the clip, that could have been a sub 14 bombs shrine, which means this plateau was very well on pace to be 15 minutes, which is actually very strong. Getting a 15-minute plateau is already pretty good. But getting a 15-minute plateau while also collecting ice and fire arrows, so missing out on the unloaded Magnesis shrine, is really good. So I knew this run had some potential. Currently the world record for this run sits at 18 minutes and is by player 5, who is probably the best player at the Great Plateau. Actually, I may have just given you misinformation. I'm pretty sure the current world record is by Volhaik Song. But player 5 is up there too. Like, the top 3 in this run right now are all like god-level plateau runners. So this is another time loss that I had happen here. On the Great Plateau, I was meaning to wind bomb a little bit more to the right to land on that bridge because the strat that I go for in the Paraglider section, and this is also something I will cover in the tutorial because I think it's far more consistent, is a double wind bomb. So I wind bomb to the bridge and then I wind bomb from the bridge, delaying my bomb just a little bit, and Link will usually land comfortable on the roof without taking damage because the highest point of the wind bomb is the landing spot, which is what the game compares. The game always compares the highest spot where Link will be to the landing spot to basically judge how much fall damage Link is going to take, and since that's the same here, you don't take any. Very convenient strat, looks cool, is fast and consistent. But another time loss there, I want to say if everything went perfectly here, this could have been like a 15:30 plateau instead. It ends up being a 16:05, but if you look at my timer, I'm currently 90 seconds ahead of my PB. And I knew this was like a really strong run, even on pace to also be an 18-minute time. But this is where the plateau ends and where the new shenanigans come into play. And first of all, we start with a super tricky BTB. This is comparable to the BTB to Hyrule Castle, and in my previous runs, I had huge issues with this. It's very precise timing, and what ends up happening here is I jump, get the right timing with the bullet time, but I still don't get any height from it. And this is something that I've been very confused about doing attempts in the past. It's basically like the Castle BTB, you just aim a little bit more right, and this ends up being the biggest mistake in my entire run. If I go back and want to improve my time, I can probably save like 40 seconds here or something. I do end up getting this trick second try though, and I really am confused what I'm doing different. I guess my bullet time activation is slightly later, so I shoot the same spot, I do the same setup, I wait for the question mark, aka the bokoblin, to stop, and then shield jump, time my bullet time just right, and this time I get the height I need. So right now we are on our way to Korok Forest, and instead of going to Hyrule Castle, which you can kind of see on the left there, we are going to steer a little bit more to the right, to an area in the game called Crenel Hills. And that area is pretty close to the wetland stable. It's a little bit past the wetland stable. And there we can find a moblin and 2 bokoblins just chilling. And that's perfect for us. And you'll see why. But first of all, we're just going to steer around. You can actually see the wetland stable on the right. And there's a little lady on the campfire down there. We fly over her. And this exact hill where I'm steering to now is where we will see a moblin and 2 bokoblins. So you can actually still see the moblin stand there, but as I'm landing, he's gonna sit down. Here I switched to the very important ice arrows that I picked up on the Great Plateau and freeze not only the moblin, but also the bokoblins. Because if you only freeze the bokoblins like to look around, pushing the moblin away. But since he's sitting with his back perfectly facing the Korok Forest, we can bounce off of him once he's frozen. Unfrozen, this would not work. Unfrozen BTBs only work on red bokoblins because they will ragdoll straight away, which causes this bugged interaction. Then I'm going to make my way all the way to the woodland tower here, which you cannot see because I never got the Great Plateau Tower, so the woodland tower doesn't exist and there's just like a weird floating skull. I end up being just a little short because my initial goal was to land on this wooden platform. So what I need to do here is I need to climb up the side of it. From this platform, all we need to do is one very precise wind bomb to make it all the way to the Master Sword. So I stand on the right of the platform, aim on this tree, go for the wind bomb, look back and do something called a super launch where I induce lag to the game and then open the paraglider on a lag frame and I get the perfect angle where I'm able to just go over these two boulders and keep my momentum all the way into this, the forest. In fact, exactly where the Master Sword is. And all I need to do now is what I covered in my recent glitch video. I need to place a campfire next to the Master Sword, wait until morning, and then pick it up right away. So what happens here is that usually when you get the Master Sword, there's an actor that says pull. It wants you to pull out the Master Sword. But when you look up and wait at the campfire, that actor gets unloaded, and instead the sword just shows the take actor. You're allowed to just take it because it's still a normal weapon. Basically, that cutscene trigger is unloaded. We get the Master Sword in 19 minutes and 48 seconds. And that's how the run looks now. If you guys want to see more commentated speedruns, so if you want to learn more about Breath of the Wild and glitches like this, make sure to follow my Twitch channel. I do runs pretty much every day. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.